strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Morin-van.
Hello, everybody. I am your host, Morin-van, and today we're going to talk about increasing your visibility with the visibility expert. And before I introduce you to her, though, I want to welcome everybody who's here with us live today. If you're watching this on the replay, put hashtag replay in the comments. And if you're listening to Strategy Talks as a podcast, want to make sure that you feel welcomed. We definitely appreciate you listening to these episodes of Strategy Talks. Want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor, Social Insider. They are the intuitive dashboard for social media analytics, reporting, and competitors analysis for brands and agencies. So without much further ado, I want to introduce and bring onto stage my good friend, Roshonda Pratt, the Roadshow Live, and visibility is power. It says right there on your shirt. I was actually in the green room earlier, Roshonda. I'm like, you know, I don't always wear my shirt that says Morin Media, and you know, I do always wear my branded glasses. But if there's ever an example of two people right now that increasing our online visibility, we're doing a pretty good job. We can pat ourselves on the back right here, right now. Look at that.
For sure. I believe that we are the first partakers of our message. So we're living our message today. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. So for those of you who don't know Roshonda, she's a well-respected and highly sought-after broadcast journalist with 20 years of experience. She's a regular contributor on local television, radio, and podcast. Her dynamic personality and expertise have also been featured nationally on CBS The Talk, The Tamron Hall Show, and The Today Show. A digital pioneer in utilizing video and live streaming to increase visibility, she works to position products, personalities, and businesses. Roshonda is the founder of the REP Network, known in the digital streets for her online brand, The Roadshow Live, where she regularly shares her faith, humor, and her television producing experience. Roshonda is the author of 2 books, CEO of Live Video, discovered the fundamentals of dominating live video through the eyes of a producer, and visibility is power, discover the power of being seen and heard. She and her husband live in South Carolina, and that is a connection in how you and I first met, correct?
Correct. I'm so excited because, you know, you were living in South Carolina at one point in time, and you were near the beach. So you were in the pretty part of South Carolina, and I was in the armpit of the South, which is the capital city of Columbia, South Carolina. And it was so awesome to connect through social media and discover that we live in the same state, just a couple of hours away.
That is absolutely. And we were just talking in the green room. You and I have been connected for probably 8 years, maybe more. And we still have not met in person. But you have met people that I know. I have met people you know. You live near people I know. So it feels like I know you. One of these days, and this is the funniest thing that happened. I don't know if that happens to you. When we finally meet in person, we're going to figure out who's taller. I had a friend who, when she and I met after years, she's like, oh, I thought you were taller. And I go, I thought you were taller. We were exactly the same height. So that'll be fun when we do finally get to hug each other to see what that's like. But
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I'm like the size of a middle schooler. So
okay, all right.
Like,
so I'll be taller
online. I was like, it's online can be tricky like that. I look taller.
All right. So before we talk about increasing our online visibility, and we have social cues right here, you know, obviously be known for what you look like, show up prepared. Those are all great. I just want to really very quickly highlight your role at LinkedIn right now. I just love what's happened there. So want to share a little bit about that so people can go look you up?
Sure. So I am now a certified LinkedIn learning instructor. And what that means is that I have partnered with LinkedIn to create a course that is now housed on the LinkedIn learning platform. So you can go and check out my video course, 15 minutes in length. And the course is called How to Be Seen and Heard as a Video Creator. And after you take the course, you get a certification that will appear on your LinkedIn profile. But that was just an amazing experience. And speaking to the topic today about increasing your online visibility, that all these years of creating video content, taking what I've learned as a television news producer, doing it with my own brand, but also teaching others to do that. Now it opened up an opportunity for me to work with LinkedIn and create a course on their platform that now over 3,700 learners have engaged with this content in a very short time of this course being released.
That's really, truly amazing. I love that. I love that. So let's talk about increasing online visibility, but let's start with your story, your journey as a broadcast journalist, 20 years of experience.
Yeah.
What are some of the lessons that you've taken from that? Because let's be frank, when you and I started 20 something years ago, right? Social media wasn't there.
Was not.
It was all, old school media, as we call it now,
Mhm.
TV, radio, broadcast studios. What did it teach you, and what lessons were the immediate lessons that when you first started out on social that you could take with you?
Oh, such a great question, Doreen. One of the things that television news taught me, but also my dad instilled in me. I got into television because in the fourth grade, my West Indian father, my mom and dad are from Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm a daughter of immigrants to this country. And one of the things my dad told me as a fourth grader, he said it was my responsibility and duty to know what was going on in my country. He would always tell me he should not know about more about America than I do. So he highly encouraged me to watch the news. And that thought of being informed, that thought of being the person who can tell people factual information is really what I built my television news career on. When I think about those times of working in a television news station, working on a show for 8 hours before the 5 o'clock news or before the news starts at 4:30 a.m., I would always think this. What is it that my people need to know to make them more educated, to make them have a good start to their day, or to make my corner of the internet or my corner of television better? I took what my dad told me in the fourth grade, along with what I've learned in television, in we have the great responsibility of educating people, and I translated that into how I show up in the online space. So creating this mantra of what I'm going to be known for. And so when I hear from people who engage with me online, Doreen, and the thing that they say all the time is, if I want to know information about this, or if I want to know about the facts of a story, I always go to your page first, Rashonda, because I know that you are going to do your due diligence to report the facts, to report the truth. Now, we live in a world, Doreen, where everybody's quick to hit the share button and everybody's quick to do that without really taking on the personal responsibility. So, first and foremost, we have to understand that we have this great gift of social media. We have this great gift of showing up online, that we have to understand it comes with great responsibility. So, all of us as marketers, as business owners, as people who are using this online social media space have to take the responsibility of what's been given to us. So, number one, responsibility. Number two, developing what is your persona? What are you going to be known for in these digital streets, your corner of the internet? So, for me, it's always been about education. For you who's watching and listening, it may be, I want to entertain people, I want to inspire people, I want to empower people, whatever that may be. Go and show up and do that. And then number three, make it less about you and more about the people. Remember what I told you, that every day we would get together in the newsroom and have a morning meeting to talk about what's the stories of the day. What is it that our clients or our audience needs to know today? Taking the time and saying, what is it that my people need to know today, right? To make their business better, their life better, and then go and create that content. So that way you're helping them become more educated, more informed, inspired, and they have a better day. Those are just three quick things.
Wow. I absolutely love that. And I want to actually touch on all of them.
Yes.
The responsibility piece, I think, is huge. As an immigrant myself, I have felt the way your dad felt. Like, how do I know more? Becoming a not naturalized citizen, I had to
Mm-hmm.
learn facts about this country in order to pass a test that a general American might not know. And so
Correct.
I've said the same thing to my children that you've said. So facts are facts. That's great. The second part was the personality. I
Mm-hmm.
love that, finding who you want to be, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
you want to be when you grow up. You can be that online as well.
Yes.
Where do you draw the line? I have a follow-up question for that, between what you truly want to show and who you are. Is there draw a line somewhere where you can be personable and show your personality without sharing your private stuff? Like,
Sure.
where does that line lay?
Yeah.
Because I think people are going to ask that, like, how much do I share of my family life, of
Mm-hmm.
what's happening? Do I share all the good stuff or only the bad stuff? Do I share the bad stuff to get attention? There's got to be a fine line there. So how do you teach that?
I think it's sitting with intention. I know that there's a lot of people who share the bad stuff because it gets attention. It gets them viral and they're able to get likes and all those things. I'm not into that. I'm into substance. I'm into real relationship and showing up as my real authentic self. So sometimes showing up as my real authentic self is talking about the challenges I have as an entrepreneur and also a mom of three and a wife and all the many hats that I wear. It also means showing up and telling the funny stories about my kids and the things that they're experiencing in their life. But it's also sometimes sitting with yourself, Doreen, and asking yourself this: is this really for public consumption? Do I just need to be in this moment of just enjoying our family vacation without trying to say, "Oh, everything's content. I need to create content about this." What is what is the end result that I want of this? And I think sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves, Doreen, and say, am I posting this for attention? Am I seeking attention from this? Or can I use this as a teachable moment? For example, I remember I posted a picture on the plane because as a young woman growing up, there wasn't I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me on TV. And the one person I did see growing up who finally came on the scene was Oprah Winfrey. If you know anybody who grew up with Oprah, everybody wanted to be Oprah when they grow up, including Rashonda. And I remember my dream was to get to Chicago and take over Oprah's job when she retires. And of course, life went in some other interesting twists and turns and directions. And I remember on my way to Chicago to speak at a big event for a big sponsor, and they paid all expense paid trip. And I was on this plane crying because I said, all of these years I wanted to go to Chicago. It wasn't exactly how I intended it, but man, look at what happened from this experience. Look what happened from me betting on myself. That's the kind of content you can post. Like, that's encouraging to someone else, that's inspiring, but just posting that you're flying first class and look at me, I'm cool and I got a new, Fendi bag. How does that inspire someone else?
I love that explanation. And I would say I go with my gut.
Yes.
When, there's so many, we all of us have so many experiences every day, all the time. I go walk
Hmm.
my dogs, I am in my garden, I see a beautiful mushroom, beautiful cloud formation, right? I'm like you. When do I share? And when it
Hmm.
really strikes me that it's something that I want to share because there's either a business lesson or I've learned something, or
Yes.
it's moving me to tears or to action, is when I'll share it.
Hmm.
I run every morning, and so I have my phone with me, and sometimes I'm like, oh, it would be really cool if I found a wild animal every morning and post a wild animal of the day. And
Yes.
then I'm like running, going, okay, I saw baby fawn like a week ago, and today I'm seeing the same goose that I've seen every day. This is not a good content strategy, right? It's not. So it's not authentic if you have to go look for it, right?
Right.
So I hear what you're saying. Don't go necessarily looking for that, but when the opportunity arises, boost that online visibility with that. And then I
Mhm.
love what you said about people. I
Yes.
absolutely love that. So let's move on and let's talk about visibility is power. Can
Mhm.
you explain? I mean, you're wearing that on your shirt. What kind of power are we talking about when we talk about visibility is power?
When we talk about visibility as power, it's my visibility, but it's tapping into the divine power. I believe every person on this earth is created and called to do something significant. Every one of us has a purpose. I mean, seriously, if the mosquito and the cockroach can have a purpose, so can I. All of us have a purpose. So it's tapping into the power of our creator, power of how we've been formed and knitted together in our mother's womb in order to show up as our authentic self to change the world. All of us are called to be someone's solution, someone's answer. I mean, can you imagine right now, as you are listening and watching this, someone is either talking to themselves about you, praying for a solution that's you, crying for the solution that's you. And so when you don't show up, that person, those three people I mentioned, remain stagnant. They remain in their pain. So it's such a great responsibility. I think the quote is, and maybe it was Martin Luther King that said this, or Muhammad Ali that says, our rent here on earth is paid through our service to people. And I believe that. And so visibility is power is really understanding your visibility and the power of your creator to show up as your authentic self in the world.
That is beautiful. And that is not what I thought you were going to say. And that's even 100 times better than what I thought you were going to say. So absolutely love that. And I truly believe that, as your dad and your mom both were immigrants, think about what your life and who you would be had they not made that decision to come to this country, right? I see that all the time in my family. I'm the only one who came from the Netherlands and came to the US. And I think about that often. What if I had not made that move? Or what if I had not been inserted myself in this family? There is a purpose for me being here. I 100% believe that. So that online visibility is power is huge. And I love how you explained that. So being seen and being heard, which one is more important? You knew I was going to ask this.
Wow. I had to clear my throat on that one because I've done a lot of interviews and no one has asked me which one is more important, being seen or being heard. Well, I did a study and I found out when it comes to our five senses, the one that is most important is the sense of sight. So I believe that when people see you, they really hear you. When people can connect with you through eye contact, when they can see and feel your passion for a particular topic through your hand gestures or just through your body, that they can really hear and feel you. So I think sight.
No, I love that answer. Did you know that 93% of our communication is nonverbal?
Yes.
Only 7% of our communication is verbal. So you are right to say that hand gestures and how you show up and what you look and how you look and how you show up and your actions are very important about communication. I do think that also how people make you feel. But that can only happen after they see and hear you, and then the message comes together. So, all right.
I love that because so many times doing live shows over these years, when I meet people in person, they automatically want to give me a hug. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a hugger. Give me a hug. But they always say the same thing. Rashonda, I don't know how you do this, how you set up your camera. But I feel like when you are talking, you are speaking directly to my soul. I know there's a bunch of people online watching you, but I feel like you're talking directly to me. And I think that goes back to the sight and how I look at people and all of those things.
Yeah, it's also, I think, very intentional that when you speak, you have all those people in mind, right?
Yeah,
because I think that when we want to please everybody, you please nobody, right? So, but you know exactly who you're talking to, who your audience is, what you want to say, what information you have, what piece you want to teach. So you know exactly who's on the other side or intended to be on the other side of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were in the green room, I love that you asked me, are you sitting or standing? And when I said I was standing, you're like, I'm going to stand too. So right there, you made, even though I'm the host, you made me feel comfortable by both of us standing. We're both standing. We're at the same height of the camera. You understand what it takes to have that conversation with somebody one-on-one. And I've had you on before on a different show, and you've been part of a virtual summit. Your personality shines through the camera. And that's what I want to get to next. How
Mm-hmm.
does somebody who feels shy of the camera or feels shy of doing live video, because we're talking
Mm-hmm.
increasing online visibility with live video,
Yes.
how can somebody get started? I mean, I think one tip is obviously get closer to the camera, but you
Correct.
can get really creepy too. So we don't want to do that. But how does somebody get started, right? It's been 20 minutes. We've been talking, and I absolutely love this conversation. This is going to be definitely in one of my top of all of my strategy talks episodes. I think we're learning so much, and we're getting to such a deep
Mm-hmm.
level of understanding what it takes to be visible online. But how does somebody get started? Say somebody's watching and they're an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
and they like to do the things, right? They're in a local community and they either provide accounting services or, maybe they're a business coach and they have this networking and they're in there and, they get some clients, but they want to scale and they want to increase
Mm-hmm.
their online visibility. How does somebody even get started? Because
Yeah.
that's usually that biggest hurdle, right? They're like, oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
you can do that because you've had years of training, but I would never be able to do that.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because I get that question a lot about, or the comment of, you've had years of training. So you see me here, big personality, comfortable in front of the camera, but I had to develop my visibility and confidence muscle because what people don't know is though I wanted to be in TV since the fourth grade, found out really about this career in high school. I was terrified of the camera, Doreen. I mean, my beginning videos are terrible. You don't even have to tell me they're bad. I will tell you they are bad. It's like watch a deer in headlights. It was terrible. I was uncomfortable. I didn't like how I looked on camera. I didn't like my presentation. I totally hated the sound of my voice. So if any of that resonates with you, I just want you to know I understand that because I was there. But there were a couple of things that I had to learn and do. One of the things that I had to learn is that Bren Brown, who's the leading authority on vulnerability and shame, says that vulnerability is something that you practice every day. Every single day, you practice vulnerability. And I feel the same way when it comes to your camera confidence or confidence in general. You have to practice confidence every day. And practicing confidence to show up in front of the camera is stuff like sending your plate back at the restaurant because they put something on there that you don't like. And normally you would just scrape it off because you don't want to be extra, you don't want to be too much, but you don't like onions. So instead of just sitting there taking it, you just sit there and maitre d', waiter, can you come over here? I'm sorry, these are onions on my plate. I asked for no onions. I'd like to send this back. That's practicing your voice courage. We have to understand that visibility is power, but visibility starts as an inside job. So showing up confidently on camera is going to take doing a lot of that inner work, using your voice confidence, understanding that your voice can be trained. You can take classes, you can go to Toastmasters, you can do all those other things, but you have to respect your instrument. I'm a firm believer, Doreen, that you cannot profit from what you dishonor. Let me say that again. You cannot profit from what you dishonor. And if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and saying things, because I used to do it, I hate my voice, I don't like my eyebrows, my eyes are too big, and you're saying all these things and expect to show up on the camera with confidence, you're not, because you spent so much time talking about all the things that you hate. Instead of spending time in appreciating the body that you have, appreciating what's been given to you, and say, I'm going to work this and work through it And then at the same time, I'm going to embrace progress over perfection. I'm not looking for this to be perfect. I'm going to take messy action because in the end, the more I do this, the more I work at it, the better it gets. Nothing starts off at 10. It starts off at 0 and then it builds.
Wow. I have never heard anybody say start your online visibility by being extra offline. And it makes total sense. You're giving
Mhm.
people permission
Yes.
to speak up for themselves and to gain that confidence and build that muscle. I absolutely love that. And as somebody who built a lot of muscle from running, I know that in order to run 26.2 miles in a marathon, I might
Mhm.
need 300 miles of training
Yes.
to get to that,
Mhm.
successful run. So that makes total sense. I absolutely love that. Roshanda, before we close up, we've got a couple of minutes.
Mhm.
If you can talk to my audience, some of
Sure.
them are marketers that might help business owners get confident in front of the camera. Some of them are marketers who want to scale their own business and gain that online visibility, maybe to build their personal brand, right? In order
Mhm.
to up level their career or find the next job. What is something that you can tell them that might make them make that first move to
Yeah.
get off the couch or get away from sitting here with their phone or their computer and saying, you know what? She just said exactly what I needed to hear. What is it? If you can speak to my audience, what
Mhm.
would you tell them today, Roshana?
Gary Vee says the people who are winning right now in the social space, in the digital marketing space, are people who are confident with themselves, people who have leaned totally into themselves, not in a selfish way. When we say lean into themselves, they understand that they need to build a personal brand. They understand that they're a brand and they're leaning into their voice, they're leaning into their visibility. What I want you to understand is the impact, influence, and income that you desire to make is really on the other side of the camera. And what it is you really leaning into you. The man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror, really developing your personal brand, your brand voice, your integrity, your character. All of those things are important in increasing your online visibility. I want to remind you that you, my friend, no longer have the right to remain silent. Your silence is not golden. Your visibility is power, and you deserve to be seen, heard, and paid.
Wow. Wonderful. So give us how we can connect with you. Remember, some
Sure.
people are listening. How can they
Sure.
find you? How can they learn more? How can they take that LinkedIn course? You want to name it by name again
Sure.
in the show notes. I'll make sure that it's linked below. But how can people learn more about Visibility's power and connect with the awesome Roshanda?
So you can check out my YouTube channel, Visibility is Power TV. We have some free content and resources there as well. My LinkedIn course, free. I made sure to keep it unlocked and free for those of you who are on LinkedIn. And that course is called How to Be Seen and Heard as a Video Creator. And I would love to know what your aha moment or your biggest takeaway here is on LinkedIn. Make sure to connect with me there or across all social media as The Rose Show Live.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being here today. And it was a great reminder for me to stay the course, to keep doing what I'm doing,
Yes.
and to connect with more awesome people in my network like you to show everybody, including myself, what we need to keep doing to show up and increase that visibility. And you've given me some powerful things to think about, Roshanda. And I do want to personally thank you. Appreciate that. I don't normally do that. I know a lot of times this show is for my audience, but I feel today you
Wow.
were talking to me, which
Thank you,
is
friend.
which is a
Wow.
lot, which is a
Yeah.
lot. So I appreciate that. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for being here. Those of you who were live, watching this on the replay, and of course, as always, listening as a podcast. I will be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. Bye, everybody.